Welcome back to the Agriland stand here at the National Ploughing Championships in Ratheniska in County Laois. And welcome to our live stream in association with UPMC. On our lovely couch today, on our artificial grass, we have John Joe Fitzgerald from the INHFA and, of course, President of Macra, Elaine Houlihan. Thank you for joining us today. We're going to cover a few topics during our discussion today. First, John Joe, I might go to you. Starting off with the budget. The budget is going to be announced in a few weeks. Has the INHFA lobbied the Minister, lobbied the civil servants, or what do you expect to get out of this particular budget?
We've done a lot of lobbying, especially for the sheep sector and the hill sheep farmers. Look, the Minister needs to deliver on for the sheep sector this year, especially the hill farmers. Now, there's talks at the moment that we'll receive an extra €8 top up on the sheep improvement scheme. Now, we've put down 2 tough years as hill farmers. We got no supports when other farmers got supports for the last 2 years. When the fed suppliers prices were high and everything, they received supports. So look, we're asking and we're looking for that he delivers a 30 or 35 euros this year for us. Now, maybe he can change it next year, but this year especially, we're on our knees, the hill farmers, to do with sheep. I was in Dinglemart there last Saturday, and there were ram lambs for sale inside there, 24, 25 kg ram lambs, and there was only a €20 bid on those. Now, I met the farmer going out the door, and he wasn't a happy man. He has to go home, explain to the family, look, I haven't money. The sheep are not earning money so I can make a living. So, we're in serious trouble. We've done a lot of lobbying. But on top of that as well, I suppose our biggest thing as well with the preliminary tax, because payments are late, and they will be late. We've been told that, we've had arguments with the Minister over it. We'd like to see the preliminary tax put back, and that we don't have to submit our accounts maybe a month later, because the small farmers, and I've been talking to IFAC about this, the ANC payment usually is used to pay the accountant to submit your taxes and then pay a bit of your preliminary tax. And at the same time, look, that helps the small local, I suppose, co-ops or local, like below in Dingle we have Bernard O'Sullivan. We pay him a small sum of money, so because we're depending on the likes of him for merchant credit, and he's expecting us to go in usually in the middle of September for the ANC payment and pay him a small amount of it.
Yeah.
And as well as that, then, our base payment, that's late. That's going in now, where everything is going into the end of October. And, we'll be lucky if we do receive them. I know there's guarantees being given and stuff, but the way things are at the moment, there's no guarantee that we will receive those payments.
Yeah.
So, we are in trouble and we need supports.
The same question to you, Elaine Houlihan of Macra. Budget 2024 just around the corner. What's Macra expecting in terms of, farm succession, tax reliefs, inheritance, and so on in the budget?
Firstly, thanks for having me on, Stella. Yeah. I suppose we've been flat out lobbying for the past couple of weeks. We have members, the length and breadth of the country, carrying out the lobbying, along with myself, trying to get around to as many TDs and ministers as I possibly can. Macra's big ask in this year's budget is around succession. We need more young farmers. But this isn't just for farming. It's also for our rural communities. There needs to be a big focus too. If we don't have farmers in rural communities, we have no rural communities. The amount of employment on a rural farm and a family farm is actually scary if you sit down at home and you go through how many people actually work on your farm, from silage, if you get anything else contracted out, a young fella coming in or a young girl coming in helping you. It's all these things that we're highlighting to the government. So succession is our big ask this year. We also do, and I know it's a tiny bit off the topic, but we want the delivery of more supports for our land mobility service to help aid with the succession pilot scheme that we've put out. Along with as well, we need more aids as well for, unfortunately, our Make the Move, our mental health initiative, which helps people in rural Ireland and especially farmers that's currently over capacity.
Wow, that's unbelievable, really. And I'll come back to the rural community element in a moment. I do want to talk, I suppose, just touch on it. I spoke to other farm leaders prior to yourselves coming on the panel here about the nitrates, and you were speaking there about farm succession and getting more young farmers into farming. The restrictions that are now being placed on agriculture in terms of meeting environmental requirements are stringent, to say the least, and it is making it challenging, to say the least. How will the nitrates decision about derogation, for example, impact on young dairy farmers or young Macra members?
It'll obviously make it a lot harder for the access of land. Everybody now is looking for more land if you are in a derogation area. But I suppose in our succession scheme that we put to the government, actually the farmer that gives over managerial role to the young farmer, it has to be a young trained farmer that's going to actually farm in a sustainable manner. And they're going to have to meet various targets to succeed in this scheme. So we've already put the plan there. We are the young farmers. We are here pioneering the change. We are roaring from the top of the roof that we want everything science-led going forward. Yes, I know the derogation has a lot of worry around farmers, and that's why I brought up the mental health side of things. Because this is just how this news broke, is something that we do need to work together, all farming organisations, to help manage the expectations going forward of our farming community.
We will be having a panel discussion here in Agriland with a number of people who are prolific online in terms of pushing across the agricultural message. There seems to be a narrative online and in certain aspects of society in Ireland that paints a more negative picture on agriculture. And sometimes I think there's a disconnect between how we as human beings are literally surviving because we have to eat to survive, and how we get to eat by the work of yourselves. So that is obviously, from the fact that your service is completely at capacity and Make the Move in the mental health service, that is obviously transpiring into the farming community, where you can only kick a dog so many times when they're down until the dog won't get up again. How are your members feeding that sort of information back to yourself, Elaine?
I suppose it's our members coming forward at meetings. We're quite an open organisation. We're always pioneering to be open about everything you're doing. So at meetings, we always have the opportunity for people to open up if there is any issues or what supports we can help them with. But as you said there earlier, Stella, about the general public seeing what actually happens on a farm, I actually attended an event in Waterford there a few weeks ago in Shane Fitzgerald's farm with Agri-Aware. And it was an opportunity for people from non-farming background and farming background to come in and actually see what's happening on the farm, from the cows being milked, from the multi-species sward to, we'll say, owl boxes. There was everything for them to see. There needs to be more of that engagement too, with us as farm leaders and farmers, with the general public, so everybody has a full understanding going forward.
John Joe, can I come back to you, because farming is not the same in every county in Ireland. That's a fact. Two fields are not the same in this country, and a lot of people, even farmers in Ireland who might be farming in Tipperary or Laois or Offaly or Meath, have no idea what it's like to farm above and top of a hill in Connemara, Donegal or West Kerry. What sort of issues and how much more, if it is, maybe it isn't, or maybe there's equal challenges on both sides, but how challenging is it to make a living from farming in the likes of a Commonage or Hill area in this country at the minute?
It is very challenging, I suppose, is the only way to describe it. On my village back beyond West Kerry, Ballinluchy as we call it, there's days there you could give on the hill and you might meet nobody. And you're trying to work yourself and the dogs. The kids are in school, the wife is at home. It's a dangerous environment. We're swinging in and out of cliffs, chasing sheep. It's something we like doing. We wouldn't do it otherwise. But there is days there that it is challenging. And I suppose what makes it worse, is when you come home in the evening, you listen to the news and you get the bad publicity that's going on about farmers. And I suppose even with hill farmers, there's a lot of people that want to see the sheep gone off the hills and stuff like that. But, we are human beings at the end of the day. We are trying to earn a living from a very hard way of life, a traditional way of life. Like, we can't bring a John Deere up a hill. You know, there's a lot of walking, there's a lot of physical work attached to it. But at the same time, I suppose it's part of our culture, our history. And I suppose from my own point of view, I have 5 kids at home. I would like to see them farming as hill farmers and see a future for them, see them thrive. But they need supports to do that. And, you know, at the moment, there is too much negative publicity around farming and around young farming and old farmers as well. And, you know, people need to realise we're human beings. Treat us with a small bit of more respect. Like, we do our best. We provide healthy, nutritious food on the supermarkets. This food doesn't grow on the supermarket shelves. It takes farmers to bring that product to there. And as I say, we find it hard at the moment, I suppose, trying to encourage the youth to come into the hill farming, because it's a tough way of life. And, you know, if when the youth see their parents at home struggling to pay bills, struggling to do a day's work, because it is a hard day's work, you know, trying to encourage those to come down that path with us, it's impossible at times.
And John, sorry, now I think there might be a bit of interference there, but just in terms of the schemes, and I do want to focus on the acres scheme in particular in respect of the hill farmers, John Joe, there obviously a lot of environmental requirements are coming in now.
Yeah.
If you've been living in an ANC, an SAC, an SPA, an NHA, as a lot of your members in the INHFA have been for many years, you've been dealing with environmental requirements for quite some time.
Yeah.
Is it additional challenges that it is now posing to hill farmers, or do you think because of their experience in already protecting nature and protecting heritage in these areas, that the scheme like acres, you know, could, if it's, I suppose, used in the right way, help the farmers in peripheral areas?
It can. It would help, but I suppose the biggest problem with acres, I suppose, in the beginning, we'll always go back to the reps and the bigger payments we were getting at that particular time. And I suppose with the acres now, there's a lot of work to do and ticking the boxes to get your payments. And I suppose as a commonage farmer, like my own commonage back there's 10 of us on the commonage. There's only 3 of us using it. Now, if I'm to get my maximum payment out of that and trying to get all the rest of the farmers to cooperate and work together to maybe bring the standards up a little bit, it would be good. But, you know, sometimes it's easier, I suppose, to get Ukraine and Putin working together than commonage farmers. So there's a lot of problems like that there. I suppose we've been used to working around designations now with SACs and stuff, but I suppose our biggest worry going forward with the nature restoration law, which is going to come in, either one way or the other, that's going to happen, whether we like it or not, and we can see the way that's going at the moment. But the biggest issue I suppose we'd have with it is, I suppose, under Article 4 and Annex 1 habitats. You know, we want to see the word habitat being farming.
So, well, what can you explain just very briefly now, John Joe? Like, people hear Article 4, they hear European Nature Restoration Directive. You know, sometimes it goes a lot over people's heads. Yeah. Will you just explain essentially what it means and why you're concerned about it in layman's terms, if you can?
I'll put it in simple terms here, I suppose. That article to do with ecosystems and biodiversity, we need to see the wordings used: agriculture ecosystems, agriculture habitats. Now, if that's included in it and we're allowed to farming in the traditional ways which we are, that means that we can keep our cap supports going forward. Yeah. Because at the end of the day, I suppose there's one clause in there, I suppose it describes it. If the cap payments are a hindrance to us to move forward or to become more environmentally friendly, those supports can be taken away. And there's another, I suppose, article in there, I suppose, the easiest way for me to describe it to you. You would have a road going through a hilly area. Now, you have the side above that, which would be an SAC. Yep. If there was a cockroach in that area, in that SAC, and the habitat wasn't big enough, now, by stealth, they could actually take over the side below the road. Now, that's a serious issue for us, because if you have fields in the side below the road, 2 green fields that you could get planning permission on. If that law is passed in that situation, it means your kids won't be allowed to build a house in that green patch below the road. So that can come in by stealth.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of stuff like that in it. And I suppose that's our biggest challenge going forward, is to educate the Minister, the TDs, and as well Europe, because they can't see the damage they'll do to the likes of us and our type of farming.
Briefly, Elaine, can I come back to you and speak about, well, I suppose hill farmers often think they're forgotten farmers, but there actually are a designated group of forgotten farmers. Is anything being done for them? Are these farmers still being left? Is the support that was promised enough? Has it come? Where have they been left?
So we as an organisation have never forgotten the forgotten farmers. It's actually in our pre-budget submission as well. We have asked the Minister at every meeting we've had. He has always promised support. He hasn't delivered yet. It is something that I'm dying to meet him here today to find out. He hasn't called over to us yet. So fingers crossed he calls over soon and we actually do get an answer and something that we can get out for these people. They are ringing me the whole time. It is something that is vitally important, and it's something of urgency that the Minister needs to stop saying, yes, it will be delivered in 6 weeks' time. Yes, it will be delivered in 6 months' time. We need a definite date now. There's too much ongoing. You probably see it yourself as well with other things. It's just, you'll have it there in 6 weeks. The 6 weeks passes, it's another 6 weeks. It just keeps going and going. It's now time, all of us as organisations need to hold them to account. It's a benefit. We are all working for the same goal. It's now time that we do hold them to account as a united front in certain aspects.
Yeah, these farmers have been essentially left out of any supports and have been fending for themselves. Now, I know every farmer that's in a scheme is fighting for more support at the moment. They're seeing their payments going down or late or not getting them at all, as the case may be at the minute. But these are farmers who never got any payments at all. I mean, there has to be a sense of drastic unfairness there among them when they're constantly ringing you, Elaine.
Massive. And Stella, this feeds into our mental health initiative too. The worry of not knowing if you're financially stable month to month. If no farmer should have to go through that. Yeah. And now it's time the Minister needs to come out with a hard deadline.
Elaine, I consider you a young farmer. Nowadays, if you are with your young friends and there's a wave of action towards climate action and environmental protection, which we're all for, of course, and it might not be so popular to say you're farming now or you're a young farmer.
Yeah.
Why did you decide to continue farming? I mean, you could have gone and done anything else. You could have gone travelling the world and forgotten about farming and said it's a dead industry. Why did you decide to continue farming?
I suppose, Stella, it's quite funny that you say I could have went and travelled the world. That's what I did. I came back. It was something I was passionate about. I grew up, we were dairy farmers. We got out of dairy, we went into sucklers. We have our engineering company now. It was when I was younger I actually had a great love for the whole dairy side of things. And as much as my father said it was a relief to get out of dairy at the time because the engineering company was growing so much, we truly miss it at home. It's something we always miss. It's when you wake up in the morning, there's some mornings there, my phone would be hopping, I'd be like, you know what, I'll walk down the field with the calves. It's just, you're brought up in it. A lot of my friends I went to secondary school with, out of the group of 12 of us, only 3 of us come from a farming background, but I have to say the others have adapted so much to our lifestyles. Yeah. And they just understand that they're like, oh, if I want to go down and see Elaine, I'll just come down. But like one of the girls one day really wanted to just come down for a chat, she ended up covering the silage pit. Now, look, it was an experience, but
yeah.
You know, like it's just like, as we said at the start, it's now showing others what we actually do.
Yeah. Well, it's lovely to see, you know, John Joe, no more than yourself, the two of you have lovely smiles. And a lot of the time when we discuss agricultural matters on Agriland, it can be negativity, as he said, and the narrative. But it's lovely to see the positivity coming from you, despite the challenges that you're experiencing and your membership is experiencing. It is good to put out that message of positivity too, because anyone... Like, there's a lot of people here at Ploughing today, but you can say 70% of them are probably involved in farming themselves, and they're doing that for a reason, because they have a positivity around it, and it might be a struggle, but they do try it. So it's great to see the positivity, and we hope that that transpires into some sort of support for the industry in Budget 2024. I'm going to have to wrap it up there, but thank you very much to Elaine Houlihan from Macra, Jojo Fitzgerald from the INHFA for joining us on our latest panel discussion. Stay with us for the rest of the day. Up to 4 o'clock we'll have live panel discussions, but now we're heading back out to the ploughing site, where I hope the rain has eased off ever so slightly.